Well, good morning, everybody. Appreciate y'all being here. Obviously, coming off the game on Saturday was a lot of really good film to go back and watch. I was really pleased just with the fight from our players. I thought they really competed for 60 minutes. Defensively, it was probably our most complete performance that we've had. I just love the effort, the energy, the physicality that showed up throughout the course of the game. We knew we were going to see a variety of different looks and potential schemes in the game, and I thought our guys did a good job of handling that. It really made it difficult for Syracuse to really get anything rolling. We're able to work to get after the quarterback, not let him get into a rhythm. And I thought our defensive backs did a good job, breaking up passes, playing with good leverage, good technique. It was just a really good performance by our guys on that side of the ball. Special teams, we were able to have some game-changing plays and within those units. You still had a few mistakes and things that we need to clean up. Had a couple penalties that really cost us from just an absolute dominant performance. But I thought Keon's return was a big play. Obviously great to see that. Starting to show up. It's back-to-back weeks with returns of over 30 yards. There's a lot of confidence that's building within that unit. I thought Ryan was remarkable. All of his kickoffs were touchbacks. He did a great job kicking field goals. Just really proud of him and the strides that he's continuing to make. And then, Alex, was able to flip the field in our punt protection. I thought Ja'Kai Douglas really made a great impact in his coverage. Him, C.J. Campbell, some guys, Kalen DeLoach. A lot of guys that were really showing up just with great speed and energy down the field. That's helping us in those units. So, I was really pleased with the special teams units and how we played offensively. I thought we battled throughout. We started fast. It was good to see some extraordinary plays that were made. I thought being able to go and get that first touchdown was big. We had some mistakes that showed up. We were not as consistent as I'd like us to be. Had some probably the most missed assignments or missed signal or missed communication as much in that game as what we had in really any. And so that was something as a coaching staff that we got to do a better job of and make sure that our guys are ready to go and execute in a lot of different situations. So I'm going to take full ownership on that. But I was proud of our guys how we responded, and that was a challenging defense of what we played. A lot of different looks. A lot of pressure packages, a lot of twist, things in the defensive front. I thought we handled it well. I thought our guys up front, did a nice job. We really. It was a defense that came into the game, one of the top, I think, 10 teams in TFLs. We were able to limit the negative plays that we gave up, and then we still had the explosive plays showed up. And I think we had 12 explosive plays for how we account things, and that was big for us to be able to do and continue to battle and respond throughout the course of the game. It was a good team win. It was one that we're coming out of it. I was pleased, and now being able to jump into this week. It's going to be a fun week. It's going to be one that there's a lot of energy. Obviously you got all the elements around this game. It's a homecoming game. It's a Seminole Heritage Week, which obviously we take a lot of pride in. And then obviously being here, a sold out crowd, prime time. 7:30, Doak Campbell Stadium. 2 ranked teams. What more can you ask for? This is and we're playing a really good football team. Duke has had a great year up to this point. They're one play away from being undefeated, and you see just the mindset of how they play and what they do. It's impressive. Got a lot of respect for Coach Elko. Coach John's offense coordinator. We've worked together, and it's a very well coached team with really good players, and they've done a great job in what they're doing. And now we get a chance to go and compete here this Saturday night, and so very excited for our players. You could feel it. The energy and just the sense of urgency. Last night in our practice and our meetings, it's a team that's excited to get better, and we're seeing some we're seeing some positive strides in that direction, and still things that we get to clean up and go improve upon. But really proud of our players for what we've done for the halfway point of this regular season, and now it's time to take another step, and they're working hard for it.
First question will be Ira on your right. Excuse me. A couple weeks ago, I guess during the bye week, one of the things that Coach Fuller, the defensive players, were talking about was playing well when their backs weren't against the wall, but just playing well at all times. Have you seen that these last 2 weeks, and what do you think's been the difference?
No, I mean it's just continued development. We play a good number of guys defensively, and it's a lot of different combinations, communication. Guys just developing fundamentally technique. Being able to face a variety of different things. We have a talented defense, and when you have talent, when you have size, speed, athleticism, you're going to see a variety of different ways to try to attack that to keep you off balance. So we've seen it all in the first half of this season, and I'm sure there'll be some new things that are going to probably be drawn up at some point. But I mean, there's I think our guys have really started to grow in their confidence of the adjustments, the what they need to see, what they need to do, how important the finest details of communication are in a split-second moment, and then playing confidently through that. And I think they've really taken some positive strides through that ownership. And I was just proud of our guys. Being able to get Akeem Dent back, I think, has really been big. Watching Kevin Knowles, Kevin was a guy I pointed out to the football team. Him, Shaim Brown, I thought they both did some really good things there in the game the other day. You're seeing the emergence of young guys coming into, Conrad. You getting Tatum back there at linebacker here this week. But seeing just the overall group and depth as those guys are emerging and growing. It's helping us take the steps necessary. And I know the heart that our guys have, and we've seen that throughout the course of the year when they have had their backs against the wall and how they needed to respond, and they have. But now it's about just fighting for every yard. Just bringing that mindset. It's nothing's going to come easy, and we want to make sure that that we do all the things necessary to force teams to have to earn it. And I think they've done a good job in improving in that area, and we still got some steps that are necessary and some improvement that must occur. But I think our guys have taken a great ownership in that.
You spoke of MAs on offense. I presume some of that was up front with the offensive line. I know you guys were happy to have 8 to play, but how much has injuries and just
the offensive line? There weren't very many actually. There was a handful, but we had more things happen on the perimeter. I thought our offensive line group of understanding for what they were seeing and what we had to go against. I thought they prepared really well. I thought they did a really nice job of it. Being on who we needed to be on. There's some technique and fundamental things that we had to get better at, but there was probably only a couple plays in the game where it's like, oh, we missed that. So really, there was more things on the perimeter where it was either a busted route, a missed signal, an assignment of who we were going to in a scheme. So just things like that showed up in less than ideal moments, and that hurt us. And so, it was. But overall, I thought our offensive line group, for having to play multiple guys, I've really been pleased for how they have worked through that. And we still, you don't like even having a couple of them, but I think those guys have done a nice job. And for what we faced, I thought they did a good job in at least understanding who to go to, what we needed to try to work to accomplish, and that allowed us to have some of the success there as the game continued to progress.
Real quick to follow up on the O-line, with the fact that they are mixed and matched, is it difficult at times to know exactly what that 5 does best as you're doing that?
I think as we've gone through the season, I think we're getting there's an understanding of who and what, and it's more a collection of our group in general. And there might be a player that does one thing a little bit better than others. And so but when it comes to offensive line group, we try to put our guys in the best position to play collectively as a group and as a unit. And playing multiple guys, there has not. I wouldn't say there's just this huge difference between player A or combination A and B and C. They're all growing, and I think Coach Atkins does a wonderful job of those guys, and they're much like our defense as we've had, the three newcomers that are getting more and more reps, with each other. As the guys that have been here, guys, we're excited about being able to get Blessed back this week. He's going to be ready to go. He was very close last week. Just didn't. I think if it was an absolute emergency, he could have probably went in. But it was. We'll have him back this week, and I think that's gonna continue to help us. But he practiced towards the end of the week, so we're excited about how those combinations are coming together. Darius went out in the game, and we'll see where that goes this week. I think he'll have a good chance, but obviously it's all part of things that having that depth allows for a lot of different combinations, and our guys embrace that and do a good job with it.
I wanted to ask about two defenders from the same class, kind of on same trajectories. Josh Farmer, Shaheem Brown, both seem to kind of keep getting better as the year goes on. But just like to have that homegrown, organic talent develop year over year. I guess what does that mean? The way you guys are structuring their
No, I mean, I love it. I mean, you sit there and you see guys that are, from within, an hour of here, a little plus maybe Shaheem, but I mean, it's, to see them come in and make the impact that they're making. I think Josh Farmer, what a big play. He's impacting the quarterback. He's been impactful in the run game. He's playing better and better with each rep that he gets, and in each game. And what I love is just the mindset of what he's bringing in practice. He's making people around him better too. And to see him grow throughout the program, Shaheem Brown, really got thrust into a key role this year. And he's had his a lot of positive moments. He's had his challenging moments. Plays that maybe didn't look good, or maybe needed to be a little bit better. But his work and his response, I pointed him out as well. Just like I mentioned, Kevin Knowles, he's another guy that's came in and started as a true freshman, but now you're seeing him grow. Being able to play multiple positions, in what we're doing, and so I like the development I'm seeing on that side of the ball. And I thought our defensive front was really good. Pat Payton was impactful. Jared was impactful. Braden Fisk, Fabian, all those guys were really doing a nice job and disrupting what they were trying to do. So it's good to see those guys all playing together.
Another defensive player, I think Omar Graham was up there in snaps this past week. Was that partly because of the nature of the game, or is that just like he's earned those snaps and is right in the rotation?
No, he is. I mean, right now, obviously we have, I'd say the top three, the guys, with DJ, Tatum and Kalen. I mean, those guys are doing a great job, and like I said, it was good to get Tatum back in there and into that rotation. With those, but you see Omar. I mean, just as he's growing up. I mean, he's a redshirt freshman. He's a guy that he's playing faster. There's a couple. He played earlier in the year. And there were a few plays where you saw a little bit of hesitation. You saw, in the right place, but maybe not just reacting as quick as what what we'd wanted. And as these last few weeks have gone by, really being thrust into it in the Virginia Tech game, but then seeing it this last week. I mean, he's doing a really good job. He's a very smart football player. He's got a great sense of the game, and he brings speed and physicality to the position. So real proud of him, and the reps that he's earning out there with our defense.
Jordan, was it a left hand? It looked like he might have, or I guess, is he all good coming into the week? He played effectively in the second half,
Yeah.
obviously. And
No, he's going to be good.
And where's Johnny coming into this week?
I feel very good about Johnny. He progressed really well over the weekend. I was able to get reps into practice, so planning on having him rolling here throughout the week.
Duke's defense, I mean, statistically, it's kind of mind-boggling how well they play.
Great, yeah.
I mean, is it just a combination of everything they do? What's the strength?
It's a really good defensive. It's a good football team in general. I mean, you watch them. I mean, they're well coached. They play fast. They're confident in what they're being asked to do. They got some. I mean, their defensive front. I mean, they roll 10 defensive linemen that can all play. I mean, it is. You look at. The standard of good defenses, and this is one that you would point to. I mean, all 11 guys on their defense tackle. They can run, they cover. They're disruptive in the schemes that they present. We've got really good, pressure packages that that challenge offenses, and they just play good. I mean, they're fitting where they're supposed to fit. They tackle when they're supposed to tackle, and you can see the confidence of how they play, often with each other, through the course of a game. And so we definitely have our hands full this week and our preparation. But these are the games you love being a part of. You love coaching them. You love playing them because it's going to be a lot of really good players and some fun X's and O's to see if who can try to create any type of advantage.
Hey, Coach, does the preparation change, if at all, due to Riley Leonard's ankle injury?
No, I mean, we're expecting. I know we went through pregame, there in the last game, just wasn't quite ready to go. We're going to prepare for him. Obviously, this last week, I thought that was. I mean, the way that they played, offensively, hit some big plays, the way they were able to run the football, on no NC State's defense. And you sit there and you watch how they were able to attack that. And, they stayed patient when they needed to be patient. They showed physicality. Were able to get a couple big runs that hit and had a couple, vertical shots down the field. It was impressive to see, the 10 guys, rally behind the quarterback, and and he made plays when he needed to make plays, and that's a tribute to the coaching staff, a tribute to the kids that they have out there playing, and they've got some. I mean, their receiver position, they've got some dynamic guys out there on the perimeter, and then the running backs are. I mean, they are a handful. I mean, they are really good backs. They're patient, they're tough, and I mean they're physical. And if you get them in open field, I mean they're tough to bring down. So, like I said, there's a reason why they're ranked, and it's a really good football team.
Two-part question for for the wide receivers. Obviously, Johnny Wilson out. You had a couple people. Hakeem Williams late in the game stepped up. Destin Hill had a couple catches. Jaheim Bell had a decent game with his catches. Then you also how did they perform with Johnny out, and what do you like from them? What do you want to see improvement? And then with Ja'Kai, how do you guys rebuild his confidence? Because he's had a couple of struggles in the 2 games he's played. So it seems like this year so far with drops and catching the ball.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I mean, it's guys continuing to grow, to build confidence through work, and we're going to do that, and with every player that we have, and I think that's what you've seen through guys like Hakeem, Destin. I mean, Tron really was, got a chance to get back in. Didn't have I don't believe he had a catch in the game, but getting him back in there and rolling. I mean, still did some good things, when he was out there. So it's always about just building it through the work. And I really like our receiver position. I like the depth that we have. Darion had a couple nice catches and throughout in the game, and I see that room pushing to get better, and that's where ultimately. We don't know what it's going to look like game in and game out, just exactly how it's going to play with opportunities and catches and balls. But you got to be ready for them, and it's about doing the little things. It's about continuing to prepare and push. But specifically on Ja'Kai, I mean, he's made a lot of great plays in his career here in big time moments and big time games, and we're excited for him to be able to make a huge impact. And he's going to continue to put himself in a position and prepare to be in that position to make it happen.
Going back to Duke's defense, have you gone up against Coach Elko before? And also, is it just execution, or do they do much exotically, or what's been the strength of his defense?
No, we have not. This is the first time that we've gone against each other, but it's a great combination of all. I mean, there's times that they'll play base defense. I mean, they play with an aggressive mindset in just how they play, what they do, whether it's line movement, whether it's how they fit. I mean, it's a well coordinated approach and they execute really well. They have smart players that react quickly. They're tough, they're physical, and then when they decide to blitz, I mean, there's challenges. I mean, they try to create an extra number in the run game, on most all snaps. They're going to have an edge to their defense. They're going to be fast to fit. They want to be able to contain things, and they've got good players to be able to mix it up inside too. So, it's like I said, they do things the right way, and ironically, Coach Johns and I, we worked together there at Memphis, and Coach Fuller and Coach Elko, they worked together in their past. So I mean, there's some unique dynamics just in this game of guys that have relationships over the years, and it's a lot of respect goes to their staff because I know who they are, and my time's been around Coach Elko. I mean, I think he's a class act, and when he gives whether it's head coaches meetings, when you can always understand his perspective of things because it's well thought out. It's usually just very very like-minded individual.
It's a two-part question, so I guess it's like a 3-for-1.
That's a 3-for-1 actually. So.
Set new standards here.
Well, because now we're getting a lot of 2-for-1s. I'm just saying.
Trendsetter. Is Keon in all ways even more than you guys thought when you were getting him? And then the other thing is, you had fun with your sprinting on the sideline and the punt return. What got you so excited about that play?
Well, no, Keon is. I mean, we knew that we were going to get a special player. I mean, you see the flashes. And he had a good year, last year at his previous institution, and you saw that. But it was kind of like with Johnny. When we first saw Johnny, there was like, wait, I see how this guy can fit into this offense. I mean, it was something I felt great about. Then you get to know him, and you get to understand the work ethic. You understand the passion and desire for more. I don't just being real. We didn't when he was coming. He's like, "Hey, Keon, guess what? This punt return deal. We didn't talk about that. That wasn't a part of the conversation. But there was an opportunity there, and you have somebody that loves to work, somebody that wants to make an impact, and I love seeing every time he gets the ball in his hand, that's another opportunity to impact it. And when it comes to our punt return game, we've been looking for that spark, and I think we've done a good job throughout the year. For the most part, fielding things, making sure that it wasn't. But we had the big return, 30-yarder against Virginia Tech. That was a great spark. And then, man, when you see him get out in the open field, and I know the work that our players put in. And I love seeing the celebration. I mean, when he got in the open field, I mean, all you saw was garnet jersey. So I figured I'd come join him. I was gonna get down there as fast as I could and just be able to try to. It's exciting. I mean, I love it. I love seeing our players when you know the work, the preparation, then you see the way that it can play out. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm glad I didn't run into somebody.
Last one will be Aslan in the back right corner.
Coach, you guys week to week continue to handle your business very similar to the teams that are ahead of you in the polls, but those teams have kind of been elite and hanging around the top of the nation. What have you done to insulate your guys from feeling this pressure? Seemingly everybody in this most of the folks in this program haven't been a part of a team that's had this pressure, these kind of expectations. What allowed you guys so far to handle and manage it fairly well?
No, I mean, I think it's about us, and I know it's I said that a year ago and 2 years ago, and just the way that you go through. You continuing to grow because there's always going to be pressure. If you don't play good, there's going to be pressure on that end. If you are playing good, there's going to be pressure to continue of improvement and getting better. And so, just focus on the things that you can control. And we go out there every day and we have an opportunity to push to be our best. And if we choose to go and give everything that we have to that, if we choose to prepare at an elite level, and you're going to put yourself in a pretty good position for that to show up on game day. And it doesn't, and I've said this to y'all before, hard work does not guarantee success, but it does put you in the best position to achieve it. And with that, that's what I want for our players. I mean, you go and you pour it all into it. We get one opportunity, you get one chance. Is there going to be, do I think that there's players that feel the pressure of, oh man, we're 6-0 and here we go and we got to do this? Yeah, I mean, it's human nature to want to continue to. But ultimately, it's still about you can't get focused on the outside and the exterior, because if you're willing to give your attention to that and the pressure that comes with that, then you're going to miss out on the opportunity to grow and get better throughout the journey and throughout the week or throughout the game. And there's going to be bad plays in a game. There's going to be disappointing moments that show up. You're going to get knocked down. You're going to have all of those things. But when you can truly stay in the moment and not start thinking of the consequences of all the things, and just go get better, play the next snap, do the things necessary. I think that gives you a chance to be in the moment, and that's what I've asked of this team, and I've been asking them about that for the last 4 years, and I'm going to be asking that of them for as long as I get to coach, and that's because I believe that's what helps you continue to grow and get better, and we got a team that believes in that, and I really think that they're handling it in a good way, and we still have to get better because there's plenty of distractions out there. There's plenty of noise out there, and every day, and sometimes the noise comes from within. And so we've got to make sure that we're doing the things that we can do just to continue to grow. All right, thank you guys. Have a great day.
We'll start with Ira.
When you go up against a defense that looks as sound as Duke's defense looks, where do you go? Like, it doesn't seem like they have any obvious weaknesses. So how do you approach that?
Yeah, well, I was with Coach Fuller at Chattanooga, who actually is a descendant of that Elko type of defense, the 4-2-5, very sound. But no, man, this is what we expect college football defenses to look like. I mean, when you play against good DCs and good players who tackle well and run to the ball and know how to leverage the ball and understand containing and things of that sort, that's what it should look like. Duke gets a lot of credit for that because of the head coach and the coordinators and the position coaches on the defense. But we've seen some good sound defenses here, other than Duke. But Duke is actually, the top in every category. So, we got to be on point and make sure we're not making mistakes. They keep everything in front of them. They tackle well. They're not giving up a lot of big plays. So, those are the things that come to mind as we're preparing for it, and we're just kind of starting that preparation.
Talking about the red zone for them, they have the second best red zone defense in the country. You guys have the eighth best red zone offense in the country. I guess what kind of a battle, what kind of situation are you preparing for that game when it comes into the red zone?
Well, it goes hand in hand. Like, referring back to our last game, where that was the first time we actually did get stopped in the red zone. We thought they had a good plan for us, so we got to build off that and make sure we have answers for what was shown in that game. But, it goes back to being top in non-red zone. When you're a good defense, you're going to be good in pretty much all those categories. We got to make sure we convert points. We got to make sure we finding ways to create extra gaps. Most defenses start pressuring a little bit more in the red zone. But, with them, I think it just goes back to tackling and keeping things in front of them and capitalize on opportunities. They've actually created a lot of turnovers in the red zone too, which is kind of, up that percentage of stops and non-touchdowns. So we got to go back to doing our job protecting the football. If we do have a long drive, because they're not giving up big plays, so usually it takes 10 to 12 drives to get down there, and they're rotating guys. They got a good, mixture of 8 to 10 guys they play at D-line. So they're probably a little fresher, and some of those guys been out there for 14 plays, so we got to lock in and be able to execute in the red zone. All that takes a part of it, so not only just the plan, but the execution of the plan.
Coach Norvell mentioned you guys had a few missed assignments on offense, had a few drives stall out in enemy territory. How much do you guys harp on this week, even though you guys scored 41 points, but how do you guys keep the players focused on the miscues instead of just celebrating success? How do you do that balance?
The result, of course this is a result-based business, but we try to harp on being process-based of, are you playing your best, and are you executing at a high level, are you doing the best you absolutely can do. And when I came into the offensive meeting, we meet as an offense after the game, and we pointed out every missed assignment by position group, and we did a total amount just to show that, not even talk about the score or the result or the yardage, but are we executing what we're asked to be executed? And that's what creates the competition within the room. We got some good players, and if we got players making mistakes, we got other people that won't. So it's just more challenging in the room to understand that we can't make those mistakes because they'll hurt you in close games and no matter the circumstance. But I don't feel like we can't make those kind of mistakes anymore and expect to have any kind of success. So the message was clear. They understood it. When I walked in, they knew it was kind of trending in that vibe because a lot of our guys, they've watched the film before we even go in there. So that's the good thing about the coach of the room is they know the mistakes when they come. Is when you walk in, they kind of look at you and it gets quiet when you walk in. They understand that we didn't reach the internal expectation that we have, and we got to do a better job of it.
You talked before about maybe not being surprised when you see some guys perform on Saturdays based on what you see at practice. Was there anything about Hakeem's touchdown run or catch and run after that was surprising to you, speed or anything like that?
No, I mean, Hakeem's confidence has been growing. I mean, it's that natural, recruiting and everything is so accelerated now where everybody looks for these young guys so early, man. But I mean, they gotta go through it a little bit. And I think as he's improved his conditioning, his confidence, his understanding of the offense, he's really accelerated where now he can showcase his ability. But you can't be a good player to, number one, you're not tired. When you fatigue, nobody's good. And also, you're always a step slower when you're thinking and processing information. So as a young, talented player, we all know what he can do. As he's starting to come out of that process of, okay, now I know what to do. Now I'm not as tired. Now I can showcase myself. So now I wasn't surprised. I mean, we've seen Hakeem make a bunch of plays in practice, and he's been progressing. So I was just glad, he's getting to showcase his ability and play confident, and hopefully that he builds upon that as we keep going. And then, like you said, that creates more competition in the room.
Coach Norvell talked about kind of how the offensive line he thought did a really good job of limiting negatives against a defense in Syracuse that had created a lot of them coming into that game. I guess you've been down. I think 3 guys have missed stretches of the season. You're rotating in and out. I guess how proud are you of just how your unit has kind of handled that and kept rolling on a week-by-week basis?
I'm proud because I make it really tough for them. And there's not a lot of positive moments from day to day because when you coach that position, there's always a mistake that can be made out of, you got to go 5 for 5. And they've embraced that. I got up there this morning. We meet in the morning at 7, and I saw they were already in the film room. They were already studying, challenging each other. I put out a big challenge for them last night. But it's really them understanding that, it's not an individual. I mean, whoever's in there in that unit in that room has to perform, and we had to build that continuity. So it's not like I'm rotating on Saturdays like I've been rotating on spring, camp. It's nothing uniquely for us because I also don't want to have players that can help us play in a game sitting on the sideline waiting for a mishap to happen. So by doing that, as these mishaps has happened, we've had a couple guys that were kind of banged up here and banged up there. It was not like it was a large beat missed. And now, some of the guys are making, they're still gonna make mistakes. You're still gonna, of course, I don't want to give them no pressures, no sacks. I don't want no tackle for loss. You're gonna have those deals, but I'm glad that it's not because of us rotating guys. It's the mistakes you're gonna have, whether you they leave them out there or not have them out there. So I've been proud of them taking the challenge and accepting it and showing that, it can be done if we're handling business.
As you said, there's going to be a lot of talk about from a coaching standpoint, what Duke does defensively, but from a personnel standpoint, like how stout is their defensive line? What challenges they present physically?
Yeah, I think there's a multitude because of the individual performances. And I'm gonna talk in numbers and not necessarily names. Like 5, he's a big, thick. He can hold. He's big man. He can attack the guards. He can get off blocks well. They do a good job of creating ways to find, contain, whether it be the double twist and things of that sort. You got 90 who plays inside and outside. I seen him. Against Notre Dame, he was playing outside. He was playing inside. He attacks blocks. Got a little twitch about him. And then the backups come in. 16, who I think is gonna be a really good player. I'm surprised. He's shown a lot. He's shown up on film a lot because his twitchiness and things of that sort. And then 96. They have enough where there's no lot of drop off. Very similar. You talk about rotating on linemen. I think their D line is really good. I think they do a good job up there. I've known Jess for a minute, so I just think they do a good job of what you want to see in coaching is they get the most out of the talent that they have, and you don't see them make a lot of mistakes. And that is what, like, and then, you know, I don't want to say that as because they're talented individuals. And they're just maximizing them and not putting them in bad situations. And they're allowed to play fast because they totally understand what they're being asked to do and they know how to attack you. So it's going to be a real challenge. I mean, you know, as far as we got to make sure we're not making mistakes, we're not getting in those, you know, because they want to have fun on third down. They got a very detailed, exclusive third down package. So we got to be on point and staying on schedule, and making sure we find a way to create some big plays.
You know, Trey had those 2 home runs against Virginia Tech, and it seemed like Lawrence might have had a kind of similar opportunity, and he capitalized on his. Like, what's the art and the science on those runs for you guys without getting too maybe, you know, behind the scenes on things? But is it you guys just executing well, or are you guys setting things up to where those outside runs just seem to be hitting at the right time?
Yeah, once you get to game 5 and 6 in the run game, I mean, it's pretty much known what we're going to do. You know, there's not like a more secret deal. We got to execute at a high level, and then once they get those opportunities, because we're not giving out, you know, when our backs don't have 30 carries a game and it's such. So when they get the opportunity to break the line of scrimmage and get to the second level, our guys are thinking to try to go score. I mean, they're really focused on trying to get the most out of their opportunity, because it's a deep room. We don't count, you know, situations where, oh, this guy only got this many, this guy got many. We rotate them pretty good, just like we do it at most positions. So they got to. I think their mindset is they're trying to get as much as they can based upon their opportunities. Now, the coaching part of it is not to press. You know, when you have a little bit of limited opportunity, sometimes you tend to look for a little bit more that isn't there. And I think early in the season that was a little bit, but I think now that we've settled in, we're understanding what the line does well, what their vision's seeing, taking opportunities of what the defense is kind of giving up. Is starting to go like we thought, like I talked about earlier, was it's going to start getting better as we go, and that's what we want. And I think that's what we're seeing is we're coaching it better, they're seeing it better, they're executing it better, and we're just putting them in better situations.
Kind of following up on that, maybe that was a microcosm for this. It seems like the offensive line and then the run game numbers get better progressively as the game goes on for you guys consistently for most weeks. Is that by design? Is there anything that I guess is happening there to kind of reflect those numbers?
No, it's just body blows, man. The run game is like taking body blows in boxing, man. You got to keep hitting it, keep wearing, and eventually it'll soften up so you can get the bigger plays to come. So you got to be patient with it. Not many times, if you just come out there and you're gashing in the run game early, there's usually a talent or a scheme mismatch where, you know those guys, they know what we're coming with. They know how to stop us. So it's just more of continuing to keep swinging, and eventually that thing will open up for you. And also our players getting that comfort level of, all right, I seen how he reacted to this. Okay, I set that block. I stuck it too early. Let me get back vertical on that. You start to get those conversations on the sideline of, all right, man, you know, coach, I went to the 3 technique. He played it tight. This time I'm going to go inside, so I'm going to tell LT. You know what I mean? You start seeing those guys really holding each other accountable and getting the pictures of it. So I like that about the run game because in the end, I want the run game to be dominant in the 3rd and 4th quarter as we get through the half. And I think that gives you the best chance to, because if you get up by a lot and you can't run the ball, they'll be back.
You mentioned the missed assignments. There's also a few drop passes in pretty big situations. When those happen, how do the guys, specifically about that game, like how do those guys handle it? Do they come to you or Jordan afterwards and try to take accountability? And what's the key to not having that happen?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to just single out the drop pass, but just critical situations where, for example, the last 2 games, the drive before the halves ended in some kind of sack or sack fumble. That was from Virginia Tech and Syracuse, the end of the half 2-minute drive. The red zone deals, we had 2 low snaps in the red zone. The drop came in the red zone. 3rd downs. Like, I think the more frustration is because our guys understand what we're capable of, so that expectation, the standard is so high that you do see some frustrating moments, which I like, because you see the player-to-player accountability. Now, my job as the coach is to control the high-level emotion because our players are competitive. They understand that there's somebody right behind them that's just as close, so you see those high competitive emotional reactions, which is still a good thing because they're showing that they know what we can do. They've seen it. We've executed at a high level. So the frustration comes from, and what are we like? What are we doing? Like we this is easy to us. And once they calm down, I like the response from it. But it's just growing in those situations. And we're starting to see those minimized a little bit more than we've had in the past, so I'm excited about that. But I like the ownership and accountability they have for the expectation of playing their best, especially in critical situations. We got to do a better job. Thank y'all.
Your experience with Coach Elko, I know it goes back a while. What did you see in him when you guys were young coaches, and what are some of the things that he's done so well?
It was back in 2005. Dave Kloss was the head coach at Richmond, and me and Mike were on the same defensive staff. We've kept in touch. He's always been somebody that I've connected well with, and he's smart. He takes a lot of pride in his work, works hard at it, and so I'm glad for his success.
Looking back on the Syracuse game, the job that you guys did up front, especially against Schrader, just how pleased were you with that? Obviously, you had success 2 years ago. For it to be kind of the mirror opposite.
Yeah, I mean he's been a problem in our league for a number of years. We've got to compete against him 3 times, but I thought our guys have really come on. When you go in the year, you're trying to get as many players involved in the weekly game plan as you can because it builds depth. You're trying to make sure the guys that have the ability to help you are involved. But when you do that, there's a lot of different pieces, that are playing together, and just to continue to see them, come through on game time and to be able to execute plans. And I was happy for our guys, especially up front. I thought we did a good job.
It seems like the last few weeks for Shaheem Brown have been really productive. I guess what's clicking for him, or what's leading to that production?
Well, I mean, this is, I don't want to say he's a young player, but he's molding into, he obviously last year we kind of forced the role onto him because we knew what was there. This year, obviously, he was going to get more opportunities. I think he's taking advantage of them. He still has moments that he would like to, get better at. But, I think Shaheem, he's got an incredibly high ceiling, both as a player and as a leader. And so we're going to continue to force that with him. I thought he was impactful in the blitz game, which helps us. We're looking for that. And so I think he's doing a lot of good things right now. And, we're excited to see what this week has for him.
I feel like this is a question we asked you a lot about last year, but less this year. Preparing for 2 quarterbacks, obviously what does Riley bring and what does the backup bring? How are their games different, or are they kind of similar? And how are you going to prepare for both?
We're just going to prepare for both, and obviously, Riley Leonard has been, last year he had a really good year, God bless you. We didn't play against him, but just having gone back in the summer and watched all of his tape, he does a great job of just having, he's a really good competitor. He does a great job with his legs, getting out of trouble, extending plays. But I think what he does such a good job of is his accuracy with different arm angles. No matter where the rush is, whether it's a pressure, whether it's a defensive lineman in his face, he drops his arm angles or raises his arm angles, probably as good as most quarterbacks in the country. And so you put that with athleticism and good enough arm strength to be accurate at all different levels, and he showed the ability to step up when times were needed for that team here in the last year and a half. So, obviously brings a challenge, and, probably expect him to play. And, if the other guy plays, then we play against him. And, not to make it obvious and candid, but, it's what it is. At least, we have the game from against NC State that, he started the game and played. He's been in, at times during the year just for mop-up duty or other situations. So, we'll study both players, and we'll have a plan ready for both.
I know there was a healthy rotation early and really throughout that game. I don't think many guys played more than half the defensive snaps. When you get that, and when, I mean, there didn't really seem to be a drop-off regardless of who was on the field. I guess how encouraging is that for you, that it seemed like it was a consistent effort throughout regardless of who was out there?
Well, that's why rotations and planning early in the season, you go into game one and you put a starting group out there and you got to make decisions. Okay, when do I rotate this position? When do I rotate that position? When do you change, to base, to dime, to nickel? And, you always want to win the game, and so in order to win the game, you got to try to win each play, win each series, win the situations. But then there's a next game coming, and you're trying to develop the depth because you're going to need it. Guys go down or guys get tired, and you have to have guys ready for those moments. And, it's a different approach when you put a guy in because he's the next man up because somebody got hurt, and as opposed to when you roll a guy through because you have confidence that he can help you, even if there's somebody in front of him playing at slightly higher a level. And so that's the balance of a coach, is you're trying to get the right rotations in. And so that's why we force rotations, especially early in the season. Now we play so much, match coverage and connected coverage that you got to play with people. And when guys see one thing as something, you got to make sure you're on the same page. And so when you're forcing guys into rotation and you're playing a lot of different people, you got to kind of have one mind out there. And that's the constant battle that I think as the year goes on, you're able to get better at that because you just have more reps booked. But we're playing better football and, excited for this week.
On Farmer's sack, it looked like when the tight end went to release, Pat went with him.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like the awareness that whole game, it seemed like everybody knew what was coming. And is that as well as they've done that type of just recognition?
Yeah, I mean, I think in spurts, that has happened throughout the year. You know what I mean? Felt pretty good in most of the games, to be honest with you, as far as, there are some teams that say, hey, listen, now this is their plan. But when you have good players and you have a little success, teams go back and try to find out what other teams did against you. So, there are some things that we're repping that maybe LSU showed, and even if it wasn't successful, I know that it could be a good play. And so we'll make guys aware of those things. So I think as the season goes on, you see a lot of that anticipation. And some of it is just built up reps, Ira, and just guys have a good sense of how people are going to respond to things that we do. And, there are still some things that we've been practicing for weeks now that we haven't used yet. And you're trying to get those things ready. Sometimes you put it out there before it's actually ready because you think it's just that much more of a valuable scheme or usage. So you gotta use it maybe a little bit earlier. But for some other things, you just keep trying to pile on the reps. You keep trying to pile on the experiences so your guys react full speed. And I think that's what you saw Saturday, and, there were, some things that we did that we've done a lot. There's some things that we did that we tweaked a little bit that maybe was a different look too. And so, it was just good to see our guys and to see you see it that way because that's how I saw it too.
Duke running back Jordan Waters currently leads the ACC in rushing touchdowns with 9. What kind of challenge does that bring?
Well, their offense leads the ACC in rushing, and so, and listen, they have 4 offensive linemen that are grad students, a 6th year. The other one's a 5th year. I think the running back you're referring to is a senior or a grad. 2 of the 3 wideouts are seniors or grads. The tight end, the quarterback is, so, I mean, they've got a very veteran, older group, especially up front. And so I think when you have that, you are able to create run game. And I also think, with the way they manage their football program and their team, I think everybody wants to be number 1 in rushing, right? Because it creates other opportunities in the throw game. It creates time of possession. It creates physicality. And, knowing Mike and, so knowing how that program's probably put together, I'm sure that's been part of the vision. And so it helps create that vision and put that vision into play when you have older veteran guys up front and you have 2 good tailbacks. And then you got a quarterback that, you watch the Notre Dame game, every time they needed to play, somehow, some way, he made a play with his feet. He's done that for a year and a half now. So, what that's going to look like Saturday, I guess we'll find out. But, they obviously have done a really good job running the football this year.
you mentioned a few times different areas of growth for you guys this season. It seems like a lot of that is reps and experience for players, but how much of it is also, or could it be like you getting comfortable with the player, knowing, hey, this is what this guy does well in this situation? I guess what is like the balancing act to that growth?
Yeah, I'm comfortable. You know, been with these guys a number of times, and you know, now it's just, you know, they have to. I have to think like them, and they have to think like me, and that's important when you go into each game. And you know, that's why you have the meeting times, and that's why you have, you know, time together. And you know, it's important for me, especially in the middle of that defense with the linebackers and the safeties, that because they're the main communicators. You know, that when they see things, you know, they may ask, and we've got to be on the same accord with that. But you know, I think, you know, you want to be as consistent as you can and as dominant as you can every play, every series, and that's the standard. Sometimes you don't meet it, and my job is to make sure that all the things that go into that is getting done. And then when it comes to the moment of truth, whether the play's made or not made, I got to keep going back to what's the preparation look, what's the timeline of preparation, what's that look like as far as the effort out there on the practice field, in the meeting rooms, and the walkthroughs. And you know, I really like coaching this team, and I really like this group that we have on defense. And because every time I ask them to do things, they try to accomplish it. And obviously there's room for improvement in all ways, or else I wouldn't be here, right? There's always going to be opportunities for, you know, corrections or improvement. But these guys listen, and they care a lot, and they want to play really well.
Someone that played, seen more snaps. I don't know if that's been design or just how the game flow went. Omar Graham. What kind? We've talked about it. Like, you know, you call him one of the most improved players. What has he shown? And is he part of that rotation now, or is that just game by game kind of thing?
No, he's still part of the rotation. I think, you know, that rotation. You know, obviously with Tatum being down 2 weeks ago, you know, but you go into that Clemson week, and you know, Omar. It was basically a 4-person rotation, which allowed us to keep those guys fresh. So in the fourth quarter, in the second half, we played really good football, and you know, Omar has a really bright future, but more importantly, is a bright present right now. And so, yeah, he's fully in the plan week to week right now. You know, his reps are there, and you know, he's got to keep taking advantage of those.
I don't know if you ever get to watch any of the player interviews, but after the game, Josh Farmer and Shaheem were both there. They both had great games, and there just seemed to be like a lot of humility about them. Is that indicative of them, this whole defense? Didn't seem forced, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, you know, everybody wants attention of success, but I think the strength of the individual is the group, you know, and I think we have a lot of great individuals in that room and on this team. You know, but I think it starts at top. I mean, look at Mike Norvell. I mean, you know, he has all the reasons to say, look at me and look what I'm doing. And he just shows up and he goes to work every single day. And so when your players see that, that's just how we act. That's how we respond. That's how we develop the program. That's, you know, and, you know, listen, every day we're constantly trying to coach that and develop that, but you got to showcase that as a leader yourself. And it doesn't guarantee you. We may say, hey, on this play, you got to end up in this gap when this guy does this. Well, in the same framework, we say, hey, when you have success, you understand, it may have been a great pass rush, Jared, but if it wasn't for Josh Farmer or if it wasn't for Renardo covering that guy, it probably wouldn't have happened. And that's the same as an assignment, you know, in my mind. It's all connected. And so I think you can give the message, but credit to our players for actually listening and using the message in a way that it comes off, because it's not fake, because you can't make it up. And but it is constant. You know, it's something that comes down from Coach Norvell, and I think our players do a great job of living in that mindset.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, guys. See y'all.
I don't know if you've seen the video of Coach Norvell running like a 4-2 down the sideline on the return. Where were you? I don't know if I saw you in the frame. And just what was the – he said he just was so excited because of all the work that group's put into that unit and to see it result. What was your reaction?
I wasn't running that fast. I know that. No, I was there on the side, kind of watching it go, and I kind of was working with it down the field, but certainly not at Coach Norvell pace. But I was. There has been a lot of work put into it, and Keon's been really close, and I think as a unit we've been really close on a couple of returns because a lot of things have to all happen at the same time, right? You need the kick that is returnable. You need it to be blocked up the right way, and sometimes you got to make somebody miss, and all those things happen within that play that allowed that to get out and be an explosive play. And I can't say enough good things about that unit as a whole in terms of how they prepare and work during the week because they have gotten better as the year's gone on, but also what Keon's been able to do. Just what he brings, his toughness, his confidence, his big playability. I think we're just going to start scratching the surface on what that unit could be with him back there.
Keon said after the game, and then Coach Norvell said today, kind of you didn't anticipate him taking that role when you brought him in. I guess when did he start distinguishing himself to you as the guy who's going to be the returner, and when did you think he had kind of the big playability there that he's shown?
Well, so in the summertime, certainly we had a little bit of an issue in terms of inexperience at the spot because last year we had the same returner essentially the whole season. So we didn't have anybody with really any return experience. So we were trying different guys back there, and we did give him a shot to see what it looked like. But really, I think early on in the summer and fall camp period, the thought, in my mind at least, was probably LT, probably Ja'Kai, one of those two, and then Ja'Kai got hurt. So that kind of really forced the issue in terms of, okay, we really have to find someone who's going to solidify the spot, more than one guy. And just through the course of fall camp and the way he worked, he just did a terrific job. And it wasn't until a couple weeks in the fall camp where, I think we kind of started to look at each other and say, I think he can do this, even though he has not done it before. And he just did a great job. And, just the type of player he is and his mentality breeds confidence not only to the coaching staff, but everybody around him.
With all that in mind, is there a way to know, you obviously know he's big and fast, and you get to see him in practice being able to field punts and see some progression, to know that what he did on that 75-yarder, that he has that in him, that specific athleticism as a returner until you see it?
Well, I mean, I think when you see him every day playing wide out, you kind of see what he can do with the ball in his hand. And every time he makes a big play offensively, I think to myself, yeah, that guy, he's also back there returning punts. And it's just a matter of time until he makes one of those plays as a punt returner. And, he's had a couple opportunities where, like I said, it was really close. But him having the ability to break out and have a big one there, that was great for him. It was great for the whole unit. And I think it's something to build on for us going forward.
Conrad obviously had 2 penalties on the special teams. What do you say to him? He's obviously a freshman trying to make a play in that moment, but it also ended up hurting the team.
Sure. I think all lessons that happen throughout courses of games, especially for young players, are valuable if you can take the information that you gain from the experience and then let it help you become a better player moving forward. When you thrust true freshmen into positions where they're playing a role, no matter how big or small it is, that there's going to be some growing pains that go along with it. Some lessons that are going to be learned on Saturdays that it's just hard to teach, Mondays through Fridays. And, he learned a lesson there. And I think part of that is just, having some awareness and then not allowing your emotions to get the best of you in the situation. And, I think he's a really talented player, and I think he's going to have a really good career here at Florida State. But that's one of those opportunities to grow and learn from. And, we took the opportunity as a coaching staff to do it. But I think he also was able to receive the lessons. And I think with every time he's out there, he's going to get better and better.
Similar to the punting here, Duke is having a lot of success on punting as well, and strong on punt defense too. I guess how are you guys preparing to see, a similar look from them when it's coming to the punting and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, they do. They have really good cover units. I think we're 1 and 2 in terms of punt. I think that's how it's playing out right now. I think that field position battle is going to be a big part of the game. And our ability to cover punts and Alex's ability to locate the ball where we need to locate it is going to be a critical factor in it. And then our ability from a return standpoint to have an opportunity to make a play to really help create some field position, because obviously they're good on defense. So we want to be able to win that field position battle and put our offense in the most advantageous positions we possibly can.
Coach, dating back to the Boston College game, a team has either missed an extra point or a field goal against you guys. How much credit do you give to your kick front?
I think in this particular case, I think it had a lot to do with it. If you look at the very first field goal block where they made the kick, Shai was like inches. Like when you watch it on film, it's hard to tell how the ball missed his hand as he was going to block it. And I do think that plays a little bit into a kicker's head when he feels that kind of pressure. And we brought the same block off the edge that we brought the first time on the missed kick, and the ball was pulled. And I think in all of to think that the pressure doesn't have a factor. I prefer to think that we did impact it. Now, could the kid have just pulled the ball? Sure, he could have. But I think the pressure absolutely had a factor in it. And I think when you look back at some of the misses that have happened, they have had good pressure on all of them.
I think 2 weeks ago, I think you really saw a good game from Gilbert Edmond. I think this past week it was Byron Turner. I guess just as those two guys have grown into that, how much better do you feel now relative to maybe 6 weeks ago about just the two deep, especially at defensive end?
Oh, I feel a lot better because, it's one thing to have guys that you feel like have upside and potential, but until you go out and prove it, until you have the opportunity to get on the field and make plays and execute and play within the defense, you still don't know for 100% what it's going to look like. And, both those guys have done a really nice job. I've been pleased with Byron. He's a guy that obviously we recruited and has been developed within this program. And, I just see him getting better every time he goes out there. He plays fast. He plays with an edge. He plays physical. Very similar to how he played in terms of covering kicks. You feel his presence when he's out there, especially with the physicality he likes to play the game with. So I've been pleased with the development of both those guys.
You kind of touched on when you said before about scratching the surface with that unit, but are you noticing Keon, the more he does it, especially in games, like he's maybe realizing what he can do, maybe?
Sure. I think the more he's back there, the more confidence he's gaining in it. Keon's really, really smart in terms of how he understands the game. And even throughout the course of the week, like he totally gets who is being double teamed or who their good cover guys are or where the seam could hit. Like he has a really good feel for what is happening in front of him, and I think that helps him when he's out there. I mean, he actually even came during the game and said, "Hey, I think we should run, a certain return," and but he had a reason behind why he thought that would be the one. And I think just that kind of investment and that kind of buy-in into that role, because it's really easy just to say I'm a wideout who sometimes returns punts. But I think he looks at it as like whatever my role is on any given play, that's what I'm going to go do to the best of my ability. And when you have guys that are like that, it gives you a chance.
Patrick, I don't know if it's a knack, but seemingly knocking down balls at the line of scrimmage, interrupting, passing windows. How tough is it to walk that balance to be a pass rusher and wanting to get to the quarterback, but then knowing that maybe you're not going to be able to get home, so let me try to disrupt this play in another way?
Well, it's something that obviously he has a great feel for. Some of that is just kind of his innate ability, but it is something we practice a lot as well. In that first couple periods of practice, A lot of times we're doing some kind of ball disruption circuit, whether it's a takeaway circuit or mine in particular is always some type of quarterback throw ball disruption. And it's about getting your hands up at the right time. Yes, I want him to be a pass rusher first. I mean that's the idea. Get off the ball and try to win on the rush. But if you can't get there, having your ability to put hands in throw lanes is critical. And then also having good situational awareness. Like the one against LSU was 3rd and 5. 3rd and 5 for us. The way that we teach it, the ball's going to be coming out quick. So you're probably not going to be able to have a wide rush where you win around the tackle because the ball's going to be out. So it's more of a power rush, get your hands in throw lanes and knock balls down. And I think Pat has just really good situational awareness. And I would love to say that every single player on the defense always knows exactly what the down and distance is. I would say in Pat's case, though, he does. He knows exactly what it is, and he plays to the situation really well.
Thanks, JP.
Yeah, thank you, guys.